Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a truly gripping, real-life naval encounter. If you're fascinated by incredible tactical maneuvers and honestly, just unbelievable human endurance, well, you're in the right place. Understanding the sheer weight of duty and sacrifice in moments like this gives us a profound insight into what people are actually capable of when pushed to the absolute limit. We're going to look at one of the most intense mismatches of the Second World War, a moment where a single vessel had to make an impossible choice to save an entire convoy.
Okay, let's dive right into this. The date is November 5th, 1940. A vital group of British ships is racing across the freezing North Atlantic to resupply Britain. Positioned right in the middle of this vulnerable convoy is a single-armed merchant cruiser, the HMS Jervis Bay. Suddenly, a call rings out over the bridge. An unidentified ship is spotted on the horizon. Captain Edward Fegen immediately orders his ship to turn and intercept. And what happens over the next few hours is nothing short of legendary.
So, let's walk through the rapid, agonizing escalation of this intercept. Fegen first orders a challenge signal to be flashed across the waves, and then they wait in suspense. Finally, the mystery vessel flashes back the exact same challenge message. Right away, the British know instantly that no friendly ship would ever answer that way. It's a fake reply. It has to be the Germans. The realization sets in, and Fegen immediately sounds action stations. The crew rushes to their posts, preparing for a battle they absolutely know they're not equipped for.
Back on the bridge, Captain Fegen's blood runs cold. He realizes exactly what he's looking at. It's a pocket battleship, he realizes. Specifically, it's the HMS Admiral Scheer, one of Germany's most formidable, heavily armed warships. This isn't just a skirmish. This is literally a nightmare scenario. The Scheer is bristling with guns and bears more than enough firepower to completely devastate the entire convoy.
The tactical mismatch here is, well, it's severe. We're looking at a true David versus Goliath scenario. On one side, HMS Jervis Bay is an armed merchant cruiser equipped with, frankly, puny 6-inch guns. On the other, the HMS Admiral Scheer is a purpose-built pocket battleship wielding massive 11-inch guns. A direct engagement between these two vessels is really only going to end one way. The British crew is hopelessly outgunned.
Knowing his ship is no match, Captain Fegen executes a desperate but brilliant tactical playbook to buy time. Step 1. He sends up burning red signal flares high into the evening gloom to warn the merchant ships to break formation. Step 2. The crew throws smoke floats into the water, creating these huge clouds of gray haze that hide the convoy. And Step 3, and this is the most harrowing move, Fegen orders his ship to turn to starboard, make full speed, and just charge directly toward the enemy battleship, purposefully drawing all its deadly attention.
To really understand what this charge felt like, let's zoom in on the experience of able seaman Sam Patience at the forward gun. Fegen gives the order to open fire, and Sam rams a shell into the breach. The gun fires, but the enemy is simply not in range of the Jervis Bay's 6-inch weapons. Sam watches his shell arc away and plunge completely harmlessly into the water. They are fighting a totally untouched enemy.
And there's a quote that brilliantly punches in the devastating reality of their inferior firepower. The crew quickly realizes, we might as well be throwing spuds. It sounds a bit funny, but it's absolutely terrifying. But here's the thing. They know that even if they aren't inflicting physical damage, every single round they fire forces the Scheer to deal with them, keeping the battleship from closing in on the escaping convoy.
But the German response is terrifying. The Admiral Scheer unleashes its massive 11-inch guns. 20 seconds. Just imagine that pacing. It took a full 20 agonizing seconds for those massive shells to whistle down from the sky before violently splashing into the sea right in front of the Jervis Bay's bow, kicking up huge columns of water. The German gunners were quickly finding their target.
Then, the third German salvo is a direct hit. The bridge of the Jervis Bay is torn completely apart by a mighty explosion. Captain Fegen is thrown to the floor and in excruciating pain realizes his arm is missing. But his resolve? It's just unbelievable. Despite losing a limb, he refuses to stop fighting. Supported by another sailor, he painfully descends down to the deck to keep commanding his ship.
Now the situation is rapidly worsening, but the resistance of the crew is extraordinary. Shells are crumbling the superstructure all around them. An incoming round actually blasts away the white ensign flying from the main mast, but the crew stays perfectly calm. A sailor climbs the shattered mast and literally nails up a fresh white ensign to a rousing cheer. Firefighting teams are battling raging blazes, and incredibly, a single 6-inch gun just keeps firing. This illusion of hope, This continued, disciplined resistance successfully stops the Scheer from unleashing its main guns on the fleeing convoy.
Fegen, fighting through searing pain, tries to make his way to the rear control compartment so he can steer the ship and issue orders. But as he finally approaches it, another German shell flies in. The room is blasted apart, and Captain Fegen is killed instantly in a whirl of flames and shrapnel. The next salvo inflicts the final crippling blow. Flames burst up from below decks. The Jervis Bay shudders, lurches, and begins to list. The terrifying order is finally given: abandon ship.
Down on the deck, Sam Patience finds himself alone. All the lifeboats are already deployed. Like many others on board, Sam cannot swim. He stares down into the icy North Atlantic. Spotting one last life buoy jammed in its case, he strains every muscle, pries it free, and jumps into the freezing water. The air is knocked completely from his lungs as he hits the surface, kicking and pulling himself away from the sinking ship, paddling blindly into the freezing night. Observing the destruction from the bridge of his pocket battleship, the German Captain Kronk can't help but genuinely admire the sheer sacrifice of the enemy crew, remarking, "God knows those men have put themselves in their country's debt." But, war doesn't pause. Having finally bypassed the sinking Jervis Bay, Kronk spots a large transport ship, the SS Ronkiriki, and immediately begins the hunt in the dark. Back in the water, a terrifying silence descends upon the North Atlantic. Sam manages to find a lifeboat filled with exhausted survivors huddling together. They watch as the white ensign of the Jervis Bay finally slips beneath the waves. But an agonizing question hangs in the freezing air. Would rescue ever come? The men know that chances are terribly low because the convoy merchant ships have strict, unbreakable orders to never turn back. They are left alone in the pitch black, listening to the echoing booms of the Scheer hunting down other ships in the distance.
Hours later, a miracle happens. The survivors spot lights approaching. They wave and shout for help. As the large boat comes alongside, the British sailors nervously hear a foreign language. But it's not a German ship arriving to take prisoners. It is the Swedish freighter Sturholm. A neutral ship had bravely broken formation and stopped to haul the freezing men out of the icy debris field.
The cost of this battle was staggering. 68. Out of the Jervis Bay's 256-man crew, only 68 men were pulled alive from the freezing water by the Sturhelm and safely delivered to Canada. The loss of life was immense.
So, what does this all mean?
The absolutely crucial point is understanding the ultimate legacy of this incredible sacrifice. Because the HMS Jervis Bay actively drew the wrath of the Admiral Scheer, almost all of the merchant ships safely escaped into the night. The Scheer's captain simply ran out of time and ammunition trying to hunt them in the pitch black. The convoy's vital supplies were successfully preserved for Britain. It was an absolute tactical success. And for his astonishing bravery, Captain Fegen was posthumously awarded the Victoria Cross.
Which brings us to a final thought to reflect on as we wrap up this explainer. When looking at a tactical mismatch as severe as the Jervis Bay versus the Admiral Scheer, we really have to ask, when facing certain defeat, is the true victory found not in survival but in the precious time we buy for others? The crew of the Jervis Bay knew they couldn't win the firefight, but they successfully won the clock. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this incredible slice of history. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll see you in the next explainer.